It's strawberry, blackberry waffles again. And James is going to be talking about the Beatles. While I sit here with Angel, she wanted to come out. And
well,
I'm
she's
not wearing
freezing right now.
I'm not wearing a big enough coat really to help her out.
Wow,
Let's see how
Angel,
this works out.
You're supposed to be warming us up. Dogs have got.
There we go.
Hey.
That'll work out for her, I think.
There we go.
Yeah.
So anything you wanted to talk about that you heard on the news, though, before we
No.
launch? What did I want to talk about?
I don't know.
Some sort of news. Oh, yeah. The stuff that I heard on the news. So they had not an epidemiologist.
Oh, the COVID,
in this apparently there's a huge outbreak of Omicron in South Africa. Gauteng, do they call it province or state? We'll say province. Which is the big one, like it's not biggest in terms of area, I don't think, but it's the one that, if I'm not mistaken, contains Johannesburg, however you want to pronounce or mispronounce it. The big city in South Africa. And this person who was not an epidemiologist so much as someone who worked in an emergency room dealing with COVID patients. He was saying, he kept on saying, there's cause for cautious optimism. Looks as though they're not having serious infections. There's a lot of them. The spread is really, really fast and all this sort of stuff. Let's keep our fingers crossed, kind of stuff. Hey, he was saying, maybe it's not. Maybe be a little different on our soil. It's not soil, sun. And we all share the sun, but in South Africa right now, it's their summertime.
They're getting plenty of sun.
They're getting plenty of sun. The other
our
thing
vitamin D levels
are depleted, especially now. So this is the trouble when people don't read enough. They don't know enough. See, it's not just as their summer. Their summers are more intense. They get more sunshine in the southern hemisphere. Check it out. You think I'm making it up? Check it up on Wiki or whatever.
So, I mean, you could be thinking, well, African, like the native African skin color will not pick up the sun quite as well as Caucasian people's skin. So maybe that, but no. Like this is, we don't get very much sun at all. And even James and I, we try to come out for deck dinners, but...
But we got to bundle up. Hardly any of our
skin
gets
shows.
Exposed. Yeah, so it's from what I've seen of the stats, despite our relatively good healthcare system and stuff like that, compared with most countries in the world, could be a whole lot better. We've had high death rates per infection rate. Well, let's be cautiously pessimistic, okay?
Yeah, at this point in the game, really, people should be.
Yeah.
Because again and again, the powers that be are leading us down the wrong path.
Powers that be stupid, they always leave the last part off. They have made mistake after mistake. They have fooled you again and again.
Yeah, and I saw a billboard on the way to... We went to Superstore.
Earlier today,
And I loaded up on root crops and stuff. Like,
stuff that stores.
Yeah, stuff that I can store in my coolers out on the deck even.
Or down in the basement.
Yeah.
A lot of yams, lots of potatoes.
Carrots, beets. Anyway, so And it's really cheap to eat that way. Especially this time of year. It's so incredibly cheap. The price, I was hearing on the radio a while ago, all of these various food commodities, eggs, meat, dairy, all going up. And produce, still about the same. So if you've ever thought, gee, I wonder if I could try eating more produce to be healthier or whatever. I'm not saying give up meat or anything. If you like it, whatever. I'm not telling you what you should eat, but this is delicious. Why wouldn't you want to eat this? I mean, this is Christmas season. You can load up on, like, I was seeing a billboard on the way to Superstore. Got distracted there. And the billboard, it was one of those ones that changes messages, those electronic ones. Anyway, it said, while I was passing, it said, there's no evidence to suggest that vaccinations harm pregnant women or something like that.
So she mentioned it to me.
Yeah.
I said exactly what Pauline was thinking, which was?
There's no evidence to show that it doesn't harm them, or that there's not enough. We're working on real-time moments, and what we've seen so far is that COVID harms unborn fetuses and stuff like that. Pregnant women get COVID, and we don't know what the vaccinations are going to do. It's better if you're a pregnant woman to be on a farm somewhere away from everyone. Set yourself up so that you can grow your own produce and stuff, and maybe have somebody come drop off a bunch of root vegetables just before you get started. Like, honestly, think about going now. Load up on produce, go. And then in the spring start planting, because you don't know what the effects are going to be on your baby. You don't know if you're going to lose your baby because of COVID, or
never have a chance to have another baby again.
Exactly.
Or you might lose your life.
Exactly.
It happened to not to my granddad, but to my granddad's wife.
Your first wife.
First wife. She lost the baby, lost her own life.
Yep. And that was the last big
Spanish flu.
So
it was the second wave. My granddad would have been something like 37, and he would have been a young 37 when he died.
We already know here in Canada,
87 years old.
The children are being affected now. More than the other age demographics, it's the children. And still, the schools are open. Still, they're promoting early childhood development, like daycare centers, more like subsidized daycare centers. How can that be going on? How can a government be so callous that they would be promoting government subsidized daycare while children are dying from a pandemic? It is ridiculous.
So how can they do that? Well, they're like Jason Kenney.
They don't care.
Someone died recently, right? And Jason Kenney says, my heart goes out to... What heart?
We hear
what heart, Jason Kenney?
And so anyway, it turns out... So you're hearing the news you're listening to the radio about South Africa, and what did the person announce about pregnant women in South Africa, James?
Well, I got to be careful because I might have misheard it, but a significant number. I think I heard 30% were testing positive for the Omicron. I could have been wrong. I mean, these things are just flashing by. It's not as though they're making a public service announcement, even though they should be, about all this sort of stuff. It's just in the course of an interview. You're not expecting... Okay, I got to get ready and take notes. It's a huge, huge outbreak there. And let's see, is there any sign that this is the end of it? I don't think so. Maybe we'll luck out. And this thing that's so catchy won't be as deadly as the other variants of COVID-19. But what's to stop something from coming along, a COVID-19 variant, that isn't much more deadly?
So
It's definitely not our government's not going to stop us. We've got to have tourism. We've got to get people out and about. We've got to keep schools going. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. There was some idiot on the CBC today, and she was part of the theater crowd.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So what she was saying, what you can tell government people aren't into going to theaters. And I'm going, oh yeah, okay, here it comes. She wants theaters to be open like sports events. I want both closed down.
Honestly, yeah.
I want both closed down. She's saying at least people aren't, and who go to the theater aren't throwing beer around, and at least they wear masks. You gotta do social distancing as well as masking, you stupid idiot. I knew it would be a aggressive propagandist, right? She sounded so nice, but yeah.
Don't they? Anyway, what I was going to say is this is beautiful. The human taste buds, we're designed to taste sweet. We want to eat sweet. Why? Ripe fruit. That's why. We're designed to want to eat ripe fruit. And instead, the food industry, over years, over centuries, has realized, oh, well, we can cheap out on giving people ripe fruit and instead give them sweet treats like candy and stuff. And
so instead of fructose-based, sucrose-based.
And minus the pectin from the fruit, which we need. And anyway, so this winter, really seriously, do not give your children sugar. Don't eat sugar yourself. Eat fruit. It's better for your children, it's better for you, and it tastes better. It tastes better. Would you rather have real strawberries or candied strawberries, like pretend strawberries? There's no comparison. And this is so much healthier. When you eat refined sugar or high fructose corn syrup or in treats and stuff, then it's like your brain reacts like it's cocaine, like it's on cocaine. It's not good. It's not good to be junking out your kids. And right now is the worst time to be doing it. It's a pandemic. We don't have the sunshine. I know Christmas time you're like, oh, I want to give my kids lots of candy because they love candy on Christmas, whatever. No, fruit. Go for fruit. We're very lucky here in Canada right now that we're able to buy fresh fruit for very little. The produce hasn't went up.
That's amazing.
You can buy fresh fruit right now.
Yeah.
Don't buy candy. Why waste your money on that? And the sugar, that'll lower their immunity.
Yeah.
It'll lower your immunity.
Yeah.
You don't want to bring COVID back to your kids.
The government might not mind if you do,
No, because if more Canadians die, then the government gets to import more refugees, fake refugees.
but many of them would be fake refugees. The majority, I'm afraid. There are people from Afghanistan that need to go somewhere. But the majority are young men, 15 to 25. So.
Oh, and don't drink stimulants right now either. I'm not drinking stimulants. Oh, the Beatles. I'm so sorry.
So,
Not talking.
just talk about a couple of things that I'm about a third of the way through. Freud. Trois essais sur la théorie de la sexualité. With I'll show this later. A nice picture done by Gustav Klimt. Yes, Gustav. In the front. They don't get credit. So I'm about a third of the way through that after about a day of reading. And this is something that I discovered in my basement. It's Lope de Vega. 4 different plays. This guy would have been roughly a contemporary Shakespeare, Spanish writer, and it's going to be fun.
The chickadees are really interested in that.
Maybe they're interested in Spanish classical grammar.
Maybe they are.
No. But we're going to deal with books that I've finished up. Quite hefty. So recently they've re-released Let It Be in kind of like the Beatles movie that was put out somewhere around 70 or 71. And I was one of the few people who saw it in the theater, and I enjoyed it. It's kind of depressing. They released it after the Beatles broke up, as I recall, and you can see the Beatles breaking up. The album was recorded about a year before they broke up. How much time? 5 minutes?
Oh, you have so much time. It's only 17 minutes.
Okay, that was.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
I
don't think you like strawberries.
One thing I reviewed a while back was, so I'll show these things.
We were hoping we were eating something better, hey?
Was a kind of like a script for Let It Be. So this is the Mammoth Book of the Beatles by Sean Egan, edited by Sean Egan. Some of the stuff he wrote himself, some of it I think is other writings done by other people. And this one is, it might look as though it's upside down, but it's the Beatles, the biography by Bob Spitz. So it's got, I guess, Paul McCartney. They got to get Paul there, and Ringo with he's the only one that had the blue eyes. That's kind of a nice picture of his blue eyes, don't you think? And there's George Harrison and John Lennon looking maybe even more antisocial than he usually was. But than he actually was. Or than he usually did. Anyway, yeah. So, first of all, I'll deal with this thing by Bob Spitz, or Spitz. He probably goes by Spitz, seeing that he's not called Robert Spitz. I think he's from Germany, directly. Ancestors on his dad's side. But it's got some awesome pictures in here. Yeah. Not a lot of them, but things that I've never seen before. Like I've seen this one before. Here's Muhammad Ali punching them all out in succession, right? I don't think Muhammad was.
Oh, you thought you might like Blackberry King.
Terribly impressed with them, but yeah, there's the pictures. There's not many from the latter years for some reason or another, but a lot of the earlier stuff. Here's a guy who replaced Ringo Starr when Ringo got sick, so replaced him on the drums. Here's one. This is George Harrison in real life. So I'll show this one. So everyone thought George was the quiet Beatle, and this is George chucking a drink at paparazzi who got told off. You know, the thing is, if you're going to be famous, you better get used to the idea of having paparazzi around. You don't go throwing drinks at people. It's aggressive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, not many of the later stuff, but there's some interesting earlier things that I've never seen before, and I've got lots of books on the Beatles. They ended up being my favorite group. I thought it was just going to be the beginning. I thought it was the Beatles were going to be the start of something big, something great, something grand, something big. And it's like I said to a guy who's about Pauline's age, out of the university. Guy, you can tell he loves music. He can still rock the hair, he got this, and it's like the eighth natural wonder of the world.
Most professors are.
With Donald Trump, his hair is the eighth unnatural wonder of the world. But no, this guy is awesome. And so he's about Pauline's age, and so I was asking him, okay, greatest rock and roll group of all time. Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden. He said, oh, come on, James. Everyone knows it's the Beatles. Yeah. And that's all I said was, yeah. That's just the way it is. And it shouldn't be that way. People should have used them as a jumping off point where you actually combine lyrics with music. And they were the high water mark of that whole movement. And it basically died after them. I'm not saying it died with them, but it started
You wanted
to die
this?
once the group split up. So this book comes, if you're interested in this sort of stuff, highly recommended. It's lengthy, as you can see. How many pages is it? It seems as though it's about 700 or something like that. I'll mark it down. I finished this a long time ago. A couple of weeks back. But what do you got? Well, it's almost 1,000 pages. 1,000 pages. And there's stuff in here. Like I say, I've got lots of Beatles biographies and stuff like that. And there's information here and I've looked through them, and there's information in here that I haven't run across before. It hasn't run across me before. This is, I don't know when it was published. I think it's quite current. 2005, so it's been around a while, but by comparison with a lot of biographies out there, it's current. I'd never seen this picture before either. It's a nice cover. It's just everything about it's pretty darn good. It seems to be fairly responsible. Like, compare with, who was it, Goldman or something like that, who was saying, John Lennon was sick because he called Yoko Ono mother. Hey, they had a kid by that point in time, and it was just be saying, mother, mother will do this for us or for you or whatever.
That's how people used to talk.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to, and grandma used to call grandpa daddy.
There you go. And
he was younger than her.
Yeah, I think Yoko was a bit of a mother replacement for John. Was it sick?
How are the strawberries? Because I had to use, I used your yesterday's strawberries, and they didn't look nearly as good as they did yesterday.
They're wonderful.
Okay.
And another time he's talking about any time at all. If you're feeling lonely and blue, it's kind of poppy. And then, how does it go?
Coach.
Be there. And then, boom, you got the drums. Anytime at all. Anytime at all. Typical John Lennon mode. And he's going, that's what John Lennon was born to do. It's sort of like, that's what he wanted. Listen to Don't Let Me Down, which would have, I presume, been written in the early, not so much years, but months, with Yoko Ono. And the first time I ever heard anyone do that song, it was this big fat kid who was picking out in the berry fields. I'd never heard the song. But I heard this fat kid say, "Don't let me down." You know, like, to I don't know. Everyone out in the berry fields. This is raspberry picking. One could say, Goldman probably would have said, "That's John Lennon. The yelling and the screaming." But you know, the verses in that song, "Nobody ever loves me like she does." Lennon had at least two sides to his personality. Aren't people entitled to have at least two sides to their personality? So he had this kind of soft side. As I recall, it's done in Mixolydian mode, which kind of sounds oriental to our ears. So, now, was that because of Yoko Ono? No, he'd actually do that in songs before she ever appeared on his horizon. I think Rain from 1966 is done in that. The verses of Norwegian Wood done in that mode as well. Kind of sounds vaguely Chinese, not so much. I think Dorian mode would sound more like Japanese music and stuff like that. Nope. This guy's a lot better than what was his name, Goldman or whomever did that. It was almost like the classic one. It was really a sleazy, you know, like trying to find greasiness. Now, this one, the Mammoth Book of the Beatles, is not nearly as mammoth as Bob Spitzbing, which is a biography. But this is more like, it's about 600 pages, which is about 60% of what we got here in the material. Smaller pages, but it's like, are there interviews in here? Definitely critical sort of appraisals and things like that. I kind of question this guy's taste or whatever. So he has something on the White Album here. Where the hay is it? Yeah, there are interviews in here, as I recall. I finished it quite a while back, so.
Yeah, we haven't been reviewing things.
Yeah. Actually, you know, like I finished it in the 27th of November, but was that of this year? Yeah, it's 2019. So it's 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
A little more. It was the same thing here. I was saying 30th November, but I think it'll be a similar thing. Let's see if I finished it just before COVID. Yeah, 2019. I finished them within 3 days of each other. I was reading them at the same time. Right? So, yeah. So these have just been sitting in the can for a couple of years. Yeah, like if you think that you know, all the stuff that I'm reviewing, like, oh, it looks as though he gets through one thing a day. Hey, you know, I got a huge backlog. Okay, it could be 2 things a day I go through on average if it's stuff in English. If I'm dealing with stuff in languages other than English, it's not quite that fast, but that's the way it goes, you know. Like, make no apologies for being a little bit slower. So let me see. I'm trying to